Hello, game roomies. I guess today is going to be a little bit different in style and structure from what we usually do. But I have had a pretty lengthy unexplained absence from my own site, from YouTube, and from MMO Examiner, so I figured it was finally time for me to sit down and focus in on explaining what's been happening, what sort of changes, these late occurrences are going to cause, and what you can expect from me in the coming weeks as I get back into rolling out regular content. Um, so, above all else, I guess I should make it clear that I have stepped down from my editor role at MMO Examiner. It was not an easy decision, but I felt that my skills would best be used to remain a contributing writer. You know, um, if I come across some time where I'm able to contribute to a site like that, that's when I can dedicate that time to my writing. But right now, I've just found that there simply isn't enough space in my life to be a freelancer contract writer. I recently started a new job. I moved, and when I think about how I want my free time to be furthering my portfolio and my career, honestly, I go back to where I truly feel my happiest, and that is when I'm making content that is 100% pure Mustafa's Game Room. When I think back to the videos that I made back in the spring, like my Super Monkey Ball video or the one about Dynasty Warriors, that to me is where my work was at its best. And that's where I felt the proudest to be able to share that work with an audience. And it isn't to say that MMO Examiner didn't give me plenty of freedom. It was a fantastic opportunity that I was very grateful for. So this is not me walking away from the world of games journalism by any stretch. It is me deciding that right now there are things to me that are more important than pursuing that in the way that I have been. You know, um, I really like doing analysis of older games. I really like looking at game design as a medium. I like looking at it as a culture. There are a lot of ways that I like to look at games that just are not traditionally functional in a setting like MMO Examiner. And it is truly a great site with some amazing, super talented writers. They cover the news. They're on it with the game reviews and all the column content. It's just that the way I like to go about writing isn't super conventional right now. I like to focus on Dynasty Warriors as it fits the need of people wanting to feel important in a large space. I look at Paper Mario and I compare the two games based on the emotional pull of their environmental world building. These are not the ways that people look at games in traditional reviews, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's completely different from what I'm into right now, but it's just something that I really like and that I really want to keep chasing, and I feel like the best way to do that uninhibited without worrying about what's relevant to what's happening in the games industry right now is to do it on my own level as Mustafa's Game Room. So with that being said, those are the types of videos that I'm going to return to making for a decent while. I think that there is going to be a time for me to get back into traditional game reviews, and it's absolutely something that when I have time for, I still enjoy doing it. I have a passion for describing the quality of games. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. It's just that right now, as I'm in a new role, I work in admissions now. I'm dealing with people more on the day to day, and it just constantly makes me think about how the world of games interacts directly with people's behaviors, their needs, the way they think. All that sort of stuff. It's all intertwined, and games are such a massive part of what culture is right now that that's the side of it that I really want to be on. That's the narrative that I want to be part of forming. And when people ask me sort of where I see myself in games, that's the only thing that really comes to mind. So with that being said, I'd like to move into discussing some next steps for anybody who's interested. We've got a lot of new, interesting content released in the world of Netflix over the past couple of weeks between The Defenders and the Death Note movie. And trust me, like, there's enough in those two things alone to have me, making videos for the next couple of weeks. So I'm absolutely going to do not necessarily a traditional style review, but something like that. Also, since I realize it's probably been a weird part of the frame for most of this video, I should explain that I'm not in my usual recording space, and that's why I have to hold my microphone up to me like I'm standing on some sort of stage. I'm not standing on a stage. I'm in my room in my apartment, so it's still pretty exciting. In regards to future content following that, I have some unfinished projects that I want to revisit. I started writing another critical analysis for Xenoblade Chronicles, which a lot of you who follow the site know is my favorite game ever made. And they're coming out with a second one, well, 2.5 if you will. And the way that I'm looking to do that is I really want to sort of finish that project. It really delves into a lot of the narrative implications of stuff in the early game, but I'm like trying to strike a balance between whether I want this to be like a crazy spoiler-filled video for people who might not have noticed some stuff to get really hyped about some of the super awesome subtext of the game, but I also want to make a video that encourages people to play Xenoblade Chronicles, and those usually don't go over well when they're chock full of spoilers, because people who've had a whole game explained to them probably aren't going to come back to play it again, but I absolutely think that it's a game worth trying, and so I'd love to finish that video as soon as possible. So those are just a couple of ideas that I have, and I kind of have the time now to really focus on making those ideas my own. I can implement my sense of humor and not feel like it's taking away from the journalistic integrity of whatever I'm doing or something like that. I just want to have the room to make everything a little bit more freeform. And now that I have that, I honestly think that it'll improve the quality of my work in general. I think a lot of that analytical stuff that I did back in the spring was fun for what it was, but I think it could be pushed to the next level with just a little bit more freedom for me to use my originality without necessarily feeling like I'm representing other brands that aren't necessarily my own. So with that being said, I absolutely thank MMO Examiner for all the opportunities that I've had over the last year to really grow as a writer, to improve as somebody who's part of the games industry, to really sort of build rapport with some incredibly kind developers and PR managers and people in the industry. That's been a very substantial and important part of my growth as an aspiring games writer. And I look forward to being able to utilize a lot of what I've learned in developing some of my own content. Thanks to everybody who followed along through that process. It was absolutely a blast, but with any sort of work, it wasn't all, the best dream come true. There were some times where I needed people to talk to or to vent about certain things that weren't necessarily going the way I wanted, or work of mine that I wasn't necessarily feeling proud of. And I absolutely had a very consistent and very strong support unit, who really helped me throughout all of that. And most importantly, I really want to thank everybody who's been following the Game Room since we started now almost 5 years ago. So, that's something that, no, actually, I think like 6 years ago at this point. Goodness. Yeah, that's wild. That's not something that I can repay or replace. That's been one of the most formative components of my life as a professional. And I look forward to seeing where it continues to take me. So thank you all again for continuing to be super supportive and patient for my very lengthy hiatuses that seem to pop up out of nowhere. And I really look forward to you all coming back to some new and exciting content right where you always find it, here on the Game Room.